Bonjour and welcome one more day to Global Life Podcast. Today I have the pleasure to be with Juan Santos. Yes! Thank you for being here, Juan. I'm very excited and I read a lot about you, so I can't wait for people to get to know more. So I wanted to start off super straight to the point with 3 big accomplishments that you've done in your life. I know it's a lot that you have done, but just to start off.
Okay. Look, I think the biggest one is I'm very proud to be a dad.
Aww.
So I would say that, I don't know if that's an accomplishment, but
It
that
is.
is the biggest job, right?
Yeah.
From, if you take that out, if you take that out, I don't know, professionally, I think the things that I have done in my life are usually about connecting people through technology with something else, with a brand, with an idea, with a concept.
A design.
Yeah, something like that. So I think if you look at it professionally, I would say that the things that probably have touched the most people are the ones that I'm the most proud of. For example, in my previous job at a company called VML, where I was the chief experience officer, we built a loyalty program for Coca-Cola. So it was, the code under the cap that you put in. It's called My Coke Rewards.
Okay.
And in that one, we actually built a whole ecosystem where we actually, put the codes under the caps, found the technology that allowed those codes to actually work. We did a small test. The company was actually a Brazilian company, the original company called Cariocas. And then we actually perfected the technology and run a program that was probably the longest and busiest loyalty program for any brand. It had millions and millions of people that were interacting with it.
I've seen that you're very big on data.
Yes, and that was the thing. For the people, it was great because you're having Coca-Cola, but for the brand, it was the first time where they were actually able to get data of what happens after someone buys a bottle of Coke. Right, that was part of what we were able to do there. Nice. So that's one. I think it was interesting. It was data driven. So I like that one. I would say the stuff that we're doing with innovation in Lake Nona, it's an area that I'm very proud of. I mean, the main job there is to turn Lake Nona into a living lab where ideas can flourish. And that's something that Lake Nona has done since the beginning. My focus has been doing it for ideas that are tech-centric, right? If you have an idea that's in the technology side,
yes,
getting that idea to flourish, like, I don't know, the autonomous cars or all of the different startups that are here, I would say that's an interesting one. And then the third one, I did a lot of massive multiplayer games at some point in time for brands. I actually built a Barbie, the world for Barbie. It was called Barbie Girls. We had millions of users around the world, serving as a platform for people, for girls to play dress up with with Barbie. We created, I don't know, millions of combinations of clothing, and it was available in the US. It was available in Europe, and it had at its peak, it had 5-6 million concurrent users, and this is before Instagram, before Facebook, were significantly penetrated. So it was a big community, and we learned a lot from doing that gaming. Initially for Coca-Cola with a place that we called Coke Studios, and then for Barbie. So
that's amazing. I feel like you're a connector in between art, design, architecture, and the data, what makes sense for it actually to work and create an impact even after the experience has happened.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I think the main thing that I have tried to focus on is user journeys. It's how people, so the focus is never technology, right? It's how people interact with a place or interact with a brand. And we use technology to measure what people are doing, and we use technology to shift behavior, right? If you make something easier or something harder, that's how you're able to mold behavior. And that's what, those things actually, even though they're very different, self-driving cars and Barbie, but they're very different, but they have the same roots because they
Yes.
have an experience for people interacting with a brand or with a place, and we use technology as that guidepost to
And
shift away.
exactly. And how do you deal with, because our mind is programmed to make us feel comfortable, to not really like technology. It's something that we have to actively work on and be open-minded about. How do you work around that? It's psychology. Like, tell me about a situation during this project or any other project that you've done. It can be current or in the past that you've been like, oh my God, this is hard, but we're gonna make it through.
Okay.
We have to switch the way.
So I'll expand a little bit on the question. So people think, we all think that we're rational, but the reality is that we actually post-rationalize the things that we do. The pathways in the brain actually work differently. People think that I have an idea and I'm going to act. What happens is different. You act. The initial part is feeling, and then immediately the action post-rationalizes an explanation. It's very rare that you're able to do something because you thought about it and then you did it. In most cases, you're already doing it and then you're creating a story around how it was the thing that you wanted to do. So that's one thing that when we're working with brands or working with ideas, if you understand that, it changes the way that you're able to interact.
I see. That's people. Where the concept of story doing comes from,
exactly.
Right? Because can you explain us a little bit more about that concept?
Sure. So I use a concept called story doing, which is, it's great to tell stories. And, I think some of the more fun things that we do is we tell great stories, and there's people that have a knack for telling great stories.
Yes, that's how they get the attention.
Yeah, the attention. Yeah. But you have to do things that are worthy of a story. And that's the concept of story doing. If you do something and that's something that you do, it's worthy of a story for you or for others. That makes it even stronger. Look at the way that we, for example, take pictures now in the places that we like. Someone has done all the work to make the place amazing. Architecture, decoration, a wall that's a great color. That allows someone to go in, take a picture, take a video there, and now you have something that's worth telling a story. Either because you're visiting a place that's unique or you're doing something unique. But we are in that process of doing things. And when you think of just telling, you don't get to change the environment. And we need to change the environment so that places are able to tell the right stories. It's very difficult to get people to do new things, but it's easier to make something easy to do, to remove the friction, to make it easy to do, or make it a little bit harder to do, and then that story is not told as often. So that's how we're able to shift the conversations that are happening by making some stories more fun or more shareable or easier to do than others.
I think it also goes hand by hand with the concept of tell me who you're with and I'll tell you who you are.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because I think it's pretty easy to come to Lake Nona and feel like everything is so clean, so modern. There's art still being involved because sometimes when, everything is so modern, you don't really feel the coziness. You don't really get to feel like things are home, But I think Lake Nona really drives you into that mindset of let's innovate, let's do new things, And that's amazing that you can get to, work with this whole team to create this space,
Yeah, the Lake Nona portion of the story is it's a fun one because it's a place that has been for the past couple of decades, it's been growing and becoming something that's more and more interesting every time. And the small part that I play in that story is in making some of those pieces easier to tell, increasing what I call the innovation coefficient. That the place has. And in doing that, it turns into a place where people feel more comfortable testing things out. One thing that people always tell me is that they are thinking that they want to live in the future. And I always tell people you don't want to live in the future because it's like a wave. Like I'm not a surfer, but I use a surfing analogy.
I'm scared of surfing too.
I'm very bad at surfing. I've tried it, but I'm bad. I'm bad at all sports in general, but that one specifically. But in the surfing analogy, when you're in the future, you're in front of the wave, and when you're ahead of the wave, you are falling. Right? If a surfer's ahead of the wave, they don't have a time to react. They're already in the future, and the only thing they can do is fail, right? The only thing they can do is wipe out, right? Now, if you are behind the wave, you're continuously paddling, and that takes a lot of strength. Where you want to be is in the present, which is at the wave. And if you're at the wave, you have all the options. You're able to see what's ahead. If you see some rocks, then you can still steer, and you're able to ride that wave for the longest. What we've tried to do here, even though it's a complex story and it's a lot easier to say a city of the future, what we really mean is a city of the present, a place that connects you to what's new every day. So it's not the city of 2025. It's the city of today, of tomorrow, and then tomorrow will be the city of today, that day, and in that people become accustomed to change. And that makes it a place that is easier to live and easier to come with better ideas and all of the things that we talk about. So that's a little bit more complex, but that's a little bit of the philosophy that I follow, which is being of the present is what allows people to remain connected.
Yes, connected, and in that level of consciousness where you actually live the process and you enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes we try, like, I guess living in the future all the time would be very draining, trying to be ahead of everything, but actually following the wave of society, what is society going for right now?
Yeah. If it's a place that you're in that helps you be current, like, I don't know, we had a kid, Halloween's coming up, but we had a kid maybe like 4 Halloweens ago or 5 Halloweens ago dress up as a beep shuttle. And we have these autonomous shuttles called Beep that go around Lake Nona that are self-driving cars, and they're kind of like round and kind of cute.
Yes.
So we had a kid that took a box and, turned it into a Beep. And I thought that was awesome because that means that you're part of pop culture. Mm-hmm. But I think what was more telling was that for the kid, for the family, and for the people around them in Lake Nona, self-driving buses are so common that you can dress up as them. For Halloween. Not only they're doing it, but the other people will understand what they're getting dressed up as. So you suddenly have something that would be very rare in other communities, be part of the everyday, which means that if you're here, you're more connected to the future because you're living in a present that has all the technology that's coming today.
And learning from the mistakes as well. When you talk about like data and all of that, what do you specifically look into when you talk about data?
So the main idea is to instrument, to create mechanisms that allow you to understand what people are doing. I don't care who, right? A lot of people put a lot of emphasis on individuals and
demographics,
or like they are doing personalization or they're doing facial recognition to figure out. In reality, for the stuff that I've done throughout my work, I don't need to know who is doing something. I need to know what you're doing, what someone's doing. It doesn't matter who they are. And if you're able to create enough, we call it instrumentation in the environment, you know what people are doing. And those behaviors allow you to make better decisions. So, for example, we have cellular geofencing in Lake Nona that allows us to understand what are the favorite restaurants of people outside of Lake Nona if they work in Lake Nona. And that's a great point of information.
Is by looking at where the phones are?
It's by looking at collectively where the phones are. Like not independently, and it doesn't matter. We don't need to know independently.
We're being watched.
No, we're not. I mean, we are very closely, but no one knows. I mean, in this environment, the way that it's built with a privacy-centric approach, we don't need to know who you are, which means that we don't care, which means that information is never recorded. But if you say the most common pattern is people go and have Indian food, and then maybe we go to a great Indian restaurant in Orlando and say, hey, Would you like to be part of the Lake Nona community? Now that's
You
a
actually
simple.
go to restaurants like that?
Sometimes we've done
You
that, yeah.
pitch them? Yeah.
Sometimes if we have 10 ideas that are on the table, we can use data to say, okay, what would work? Because one of the shared responsibilities for a place is success. We want families to have successful lives. We want ideas to be successful. We want businesses to be successful. It's not our core responsibility, but if you make an environment where those things are easier and where you invite people in that have a higher chance of success, then it's a...
I've been able to leave that pickiness, which I understand, because nobody wants to see a plaza with a business that doesn't work, right? Like it's bad image, it's not something. And obviously having a property that is guaranteed by a corporate, makes the real estate gain value of it. So that I'm a realtor, so I've been able to apply for some restaurants here in the Lake Nona West, you know. And I know that you guys want franchises, you want to have big brands or people that have a lot of experience with restaurants. And that's important too, to make sure it goes with the aesthetic of the place, you know?
And it's about curating the experience. You don't want to have 3 of the same, because that will lower the sales of everyone.
Exactly.
Right? You want to curate what you're doing. And we do it in all things. Like, for example, if you look at art, there's a wide variety of types of art that are part of Lake Nona. We have a couple of artists that have a lot of pieces here, like Jeffrey, who has, it's his home. So,
I got to meet him one day at the Wave Hotel. I was actually taking a picture in front of his art pieces. And then he was like, "Do you like it?" And I was like, "Yes, I love it." And he was like, "I'm the artist." And I'm like, "Oh,
he's
wow.
awesome. He's great. He's a Lake Nona resident too, and it's a
he has big projects. I guess
huge projects.
It's easy to work with professionals like that, but I guess it's also difficult sometimes to work with the artist and the logic behind everything, right? How do you manage that connection?
First, it's a team of people that is working on this. And the other is, we try a lot of things. Like this building that we're in, Pixon, features the work of 7 women artists. We didn't set out to make it 7 women artists. We actually had a contest for the facade that's on this side, right behind us, and people submitted. And there was this Argentinian artist that won the mural that's in the front. And then we had Carissa, who works for Tavistock, who's kind of like a resident artist, do some work for the building. And then we got Ledania, which is a Colombian muralist that actually did the columns and the ceiling in the first floor. So when we got there, we were like, "Oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
We have 3 women artists. Let's make this a great place for representation of women artists." We invited graffiti artists from Atlanta to do the work on the Liner building. We had another large mural by Carissa. And then we were working with some people at UCF that have this incredible, they do prosthetics for children, but they do them in a way that you feel proud of having the prosthetic. So it looks like a superhero arm, or it looks like a very beautiful kind of object. So instead of it being an ugly, hide-it kind of piece, they do that. And they had an artist that was working with them, and she had not graduated from school yet. And she was like, "Oh, we love the art, and we actually needed some work for some columns downstairs," and it was her first commission. So we got a chance to do early, like a person that was not well known, people that are local, and then people like Ledania who are internationally recognized, and create a good curation of things. And thankfully in this case everything worked. There's other things that we've had to...
Orlando is. Yeah. We're a mix of people from everywhere.
Yeah. We've had to cover some other pieces that are elsewhere because they didn't turn out as we wanted, but it's
this
paint.
Conversation has been so interesting, and I haven't even asked you, what do you do today?
Okay. I have 2 hats.
Okay.
So my main hat is I am the head of innovation for Lake Nona. So I run our innovation ecosystem, which is a combination of trying to make it easier for ideas in the entrepreneurial world to flourish in Lake Nona. And it's weird because, innovation, and I work for a real estate company, which is not the most innovative thing in the world. My job is really to remove obstacles so that innovative companies can call Lake Nona home. So great companies or great ideas can find a place in Lake Nona where they can flourish, right? That's the main piece. And that's something that I've been focusing on. And then for the first 7 years that I was with Lake Nona, I was also working very deeply in the story of Lake Nona. So I was leading our brand experience practice. As of January this year, I am not, and that's actually opened time for me to actually pursue entrepreneurial work. So doing new businesses and finding new ideas and new companies to actually establish. Before I was with Lake Nona, I had always been entrepreneurial. So that was kind of like a interesting and needed phase. So I can still do the work of innovation for Lake Nona, but at the same time, look for entrepreneurial ideas that most of them are going to be here, but that can flourish. And that you mentioned, for example, earlier when we were talking about space, I'm super interested in space and in the space economy and how it's becoming a big transformative piece of technology in the world. So that's something that I'm devoting time to.
Can you tell us a little bit about that space economy?
Sure. So people think of space and they think this is this unpractical thing where we just have billionaires shooting rockets into space, which, by the way, we see out of that window probably. You can probably see them. No
I don't
problem.
have my glasses right now.
Yeah, I think you can see them being launched right there. But the reality is that the space that lies on low Earth orbit, which is called, people call it LEO, has provided an incredible opportunity for technology to actually be used on Earth. I'll give you one example. About 3 years ago, the main cellular carriers in the US spent tens of billions of dollars to buy spectrum, to buy bandwidth and to buy spectrum so that they could expand 5G and other kinds of things so that they could offer better coverage. It was, combined, we're talking about hundreds of billions, I think, if you look at it globally. I know that in the US was at least 60 billion that was used. And then you look at what you can do with someone like Starlink from Elon Musk's companies, where with a smaller investment, they were able to put satellites that provide connectivity everywhere in the world, right? They have this constellation of satellites that provides connectivity anywhere. And it was a fraction of the investment. And that was because the infrastructure of space made it possible. The estimates are that the space economy is about to quadruple in the next 2 years. And it's going to be a significant portion of technology. It's in some areas that are strange, like, for example, cryptography. Storing things in space and computing in space, it's interesting. You can actually put GPUs and do AI work on space. You have ample access to electricity through solar. There's some challenges around cooling, but it's something that people are working on. The other side of space that's super interesting is that it's the ultimate test, right? What is the toughest environment that we know? It's space, right? If your light bulb doesn't work, there's no way to get that. There's no Amazon Prime space yet to get a light bulb. So the light bulb has to work every single time, and that makes the technologies that end up in space being kind of like the ultimate test. So that's the other side of a space that I'm focusing on.
They give more security. It's
that, and also using technologies that may end up impacting how we live here on Earth. It's happened forever. People always talk about Velcro, which of course came from the space program, but a lot of people don't know that Invisalign is actually a product of the space program.
I have Invisalign.
Yeah, well, the hardness of that resin is only possible through work that was done to get things in space. And then when the resin and the 3D printing process were like, oh, this would be perfect for a braces replacement. So it was something that people didn't expect. So putting things in hard environments helps us grow. It's like a Formula One. Formula One cars, they're in the toughest racing environments. So if you're able to solve suspension or you're able to solve aerodynamics, slowly those things transfer into the cars that we drive. Space works that way too. So that's what I'm super
Is
interested
that how
in
you're
space.
connecting the taxis that are the flying taxis in Lake Nona?
Oh no, well, yeah, that's a separate one. But yes, that's it's aerospace. It's just instead of it being instead of being low Earth orbit, this is definitely here. The story of that is interesting. The day we released, like literally the day we had the first autonomous shuttle driving on a regular street in the U.S., which was actually right here.
Really, on Lake Nona Boulevard?
Yeah, it was. It started at the hotels. It came Lake Nona Boulevard, and it ended up in where Campus is, the restaurant. That was the first time a multi-passenger shuttle worked on a regular street in the U.S. Before they were like in special streets, or they were like in a college campus, or they were like in enclosed environments. And this went in front of in front of an elementary school, in front of a kindergarten, between a hotel. It did all the things that people said were hard. So that was the first place that it was
nice.
that it was tested. Doing things like that actually move the innovation thing forward, right? We were able to do testing of that kind, and I think that gives us a unique edge as a testing.
It's a unique signature, How do you see people interacting with the beep in Lake Nona community?
So initially it was a learning environment. They go slow, right? They're still getting worked on. We are running on the generation 1 of the vehicles, but we're also testing generation 3 right now. So there's a test where we have 3 different shuttles that are much faster that are going on. And they've actually created a brand new shuttle. So the learnings in Lake Nona allowed Beep to collaborate with companies like Benteler, like Pininfarina, like Intel's Mobileye to build the next generation shuttle, which was actually launched at CES 2 years ago, where Beep plays a critical role in that environment. The interaction of people, well, we had some kids dress up as it, which means that it had an impact.
It is. It is.
We also have people trying to pass them because they go. I keep I go after. I mean, they go at a slower speed, but they also are in a place that has 25 miles an hour as the maximum speed,
exactly.
And people are going a lot faster than 25.
Exactly.
So,
but it's good that I think when the Nemours Road opened up, it was easier to.
Yeah. So it's been a learning experience, but that's a cool thing, right? One of the great things about living in a place
in the present
that is connected to that is living of the present is you get to see. I mean, you put these things on the road and it's like, oh, they need to go faster. Or you know what? Let's make an accommodation. When we started, we had nothing. Then we said, you know what? Let's build a little bit of a place where they can go. So if people need to pass them, it's safer to pass. So yeah, people have taught us a lot, and actually the next generation is informed by the commentaries and the behaviors of people that are riding Beep today. So people in Lake Nona are shaping the next generation of autonomous shuttles.
Lake Nona is a beautiful community that, I think people is very connected, and they like connection, and they like to, support and grow. And everybody, I think, is adding what they can from themselves to make this place better. Yeah. So I really see this as a safe, community where there's a lot of nice people. How would you say, are there any data, that you analyze that we don't even notice, in Lake Nona that...
Look, I'll give you certain things that are interesting. So pets, for example, make for significantly safer environments. This is something that's not a Lake Nona learning. This is something that's happened throughout. But people are a lot nicer around their pets. Like if you have your dog, you're probably nicer.
It is true.
Than when you're not with your dog. You're like, maybe, I don't know. So that, for example, is something that we saw that data globally. And, we have a very pet-friendly community, right?
When I go to the beach, I don't actually go to Coco Beach. I go to Canova Beach, because Canova is a beach in Coco. It's still the same, beach, but it's pet-friendly. And people over there is just way nicer. So I just go there. Even if I don't bring my pet, I go there. So people is nicer.
So that's some of the things that we see. We have some interesting data. Like in Lake Nona, people use their cars less. People that have lived here for a bit, they walk a little bit more, right? In Florida, you don't want to walk half the time. It's too hot and the distances are too big. But we're trying to build a much more walkable community.
Yes.
I invite people, if they're in the area, to walk, even if it's in a hot day. If you walk in the sculpture garden or places that have all the trees, it's significantly cooler. Right, so we try to make it cooler with the trees and the shade and whatnot.
And there's many walking trails here in Lorette.
Oh yeah, we have 50 miles of trails.
Yes.
But people use their car less. The average cars per person in Lake Nona is slightly lower than the communities that are similar to Lake Nona elsewhere, which is it's like a sign of things that are happening, again, connected to the present. Okay. People are starting to work at home more, and then you do less trips, and then maybe you have one, instead of having 3 cars, you have 2, that type of thing.
So walking community is also related to the pets. So a more sporty community, that's some data that you analyze a lot. And then in regards to a day of work with you, like a day where you wake up and you eat your breakfast and you work, how does that look like?
I don't eat breakfast, but that's aside. I have coffee.
I've asked multiple people in this podcast, what do they eat for breakfast? They don't eat breakfast. I'm surprised.
No, I eat coffee. I drink coffee.
Okay, if like a good Colombian.
Yeah, if it's if the day's gonna be tough, I have breakfast.
Okay.
But if not, I have coffee. If I want to not be great that day, I have coffee and a croissant. That would be my ideal breakfast.
Okay, I feel you.
Yeah, and then I have earlier lunch. I've become gringo with that. But now I have my lunch at noon or something.
Still afternoon time.
Yeah. But 11:59, I'm waiting for it. But So I have coffee. I have the shortest commute I've ever had in my life. So I work in this building. I live in this building. So I commute by elevator. Okay. So I can go in the elevator and go down. My friend Rafael keeps telling me that I should at least go up and down the stairs so that I get a little bit more exercise.
Yeah,
and then I walk around. One of the things that you have to be in the place. So I may go to the Wave twice in the day, walking, and then go to our other offices and go to Beep and just walk around the environment. You'll usually see me.
It's like you walk and you call on the way.
Sometimes I'm calling working. Sometimes I'm having a call, but sometimes it's because you have to be in the place. Yes. Part of being in charge of a community is you have to live the community. Exactly. And it's only when you walk from here to someone that you notice, you know what, the speakers are too loud.
Oh, nice.
I make a little note.
That's how you work your creativity in the morning. Yeah. Then, okay. Nice.
And then, I work a lot in the computer, and I come upstairs often because I am in the same place. So.
And when you work on the computer, now that you're working more as a self-employed with different businesses and stuff like that, do you usually take any type of business that wants to implement space technology? If a company goes to you and they're like, Juan, please help me be better and be more innovative, do you exclusively work with franchises?
No, the way that we've structured it, the way that I've structured it is it has kind of 2 facets. One is, in bringing companies that are space related, that's something that I'm doing for the space that we have downstairs, which is called MS2. That has, it's a large space. It's 16,000 square feet. And it's a great environment for startups and companies. If a company is in the space environment or related environment, it makes sense for them to be in the community. We talk to them, and if it makes sense for them to be in the place, we do that. So that's one. I have a couple of places that I do consulting for. I've always kept that piece on, and people that are working on smart cities that are working on space-related businesses, and that's more of a traditional management consulting. And then the plan for the next phase is to build a startup studio. I don't know if you're familiar with the
Yes.
startup studio
Yes.
idea, but yeah, it's you create a company that creates companies, right? And I think that method for space is a good mechanism, and I think that's probably what I want to do.
For startups, where do you, I mean, you've already said that, of course, space economy. Are there any other fields where you see that startups will make good money and grow fast? Like, for example, medical industry, I guess that's one.
Look, the startups everywhere in every field, that there's always growth. The ones that where I let me answer the question a different way. If we talk about Lake Nona as part of that mix, Lake Nona is a very good place for companies that are in the intersection of technology and health, technology and sports, smart city, a space economy, or things that have to do with space, IoT around the city. Those areas, this environment offers a place that's as good as any in the world. In some cases better because we have that collaborative gene where people talk to each other and they help each other. So for that, this is an ideal place. Now, that doesn't mean that if someone's building a prop tech startup or they're working on a financial or services startup, this is not a good place. It's a good place. It's just that that ecosystem is not here yet. So it will be similar to other places. But for those areas, I think the intersection of tech and health, sports, city and the way that we live, which includes transportation, and then space with technology kind of like as the center. I think that's my place, and it's also the place that Lake Nona is very helpful at.
Yes, and I think everybody is very scared nowadays of, getting older. So the people that have money, like they spend on. So all of these fields together sound like a very good productive mix. Juan, one last question before we jump into our Patreon exclusive content, where I'm gonna be asking you some questions about how we get in your field and students that actually want to work in your industry. Something that a project in Lake Nona that might have been not what you expected that made you grow and shift the way you work?
Look, I think that's many of them. If you think about the area between this building and the Wave, it has been rethought dozens of times. But it is not like an idea. Like the Tavistock team has developed full, ideas. They've developed models. We've had architects and engineers do work, and we've been good at being able to say, okay, it's not built yet. Is there a better thing that can happen? And the world changes, and thankfully we've been able to adapt. That's something that I was not used to. I come from a world where you build things digitally or you build things with media and it's easy. Building with atoms, building with brick and mortar, literally, right? In this case, it's a lot of work, and people often think that because they have it already drawn, that's the way it needs to be built. Yes, there is a cost in terms of lost work in rethinking something, but something that I have learned at Tavistock is that sometimes it's okay to just say, okay, it's a great solution. It's not the solution that we need. And I can tell you that since I've been here, like, for example, between here and the Wave, that has had it's had hundreds of ideas, but it's had 8 or 10 fully developed ideas. And we're probably working on the 11th.
Okay, one last question.
Yeah.
Something that is coming up in Lake Nona that you think is the most impactful thing for the community?
Look, I think having Lake Nona West, which you mentioned, which is the first of the shopping environments that's inside Lake Nona and not on the perimeter, that's going to have a practical impact. It's going to have a target very close. So I think that's an interesting one.
When is the finish date expected to be? 2026?
Yeah, it's 2026. I don't have the exact date in my mind, but it's available on the Lake Nona website. But yeah, and it comes in phases, right? You have some things that will go there, and it will continue to expand. I think that's an interesting one. And then we're thinking about uses of invisible technology in other places. Like how do you deal with water or how do you deal with electricity? That may be unique. You may not see them. They may not be like, this is the building, but there may be some interesting things there. We're testing, for example, right now, atmospheric water generators, which actually take the water from the environment. So you make water, and that may be a great place for something in the middle of a trail where you have no infrastructure. But it's also something that could allow us to build a microgrid that allows you to be resilient, not just to electricity, but to water issues. So there's a lot of thinking around that, but that's very early. We're testing like the first few machines.
Thank you for sharing that. Hi, Juan. Thank you for being part of this podcast and coming today.
No, it's my pleasure. Thank you, everyone.
It has been a pleasure. And if you would like to know more about Juan, or if you would like us to do another interview, please leave us in the comment what you would like us to talk about. Because Juan is a box full of, knowledge and surprises. So thank you, guys. And now we'll jump into the questions of the Pantron.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Show the